Well, I hope you all had an engaging last session. Looked like a lot of activity, a lot of knowledge sharing there, so that was fantastic. This section here is our last one of the day. It's been a pretty long day, so you guys have been great. A lot of engagement, a lot of activity. I'm sure you're ready for either food or other kind of beverages or sleep or whatever it might be. We're going to talk about AI-powered or AI-poisoned. And the idea here is, we're going to have a conversation around AI being both a promise and a peril in our current time. And we realize that AI is quickly becoming the default partner in many ways to market intelligence or competitive intelligence groups, and automating tasks and analyzing data at scale, and certainly surfacing insights faster than ever before. But I have certainly found that speed without trust can be dangerous. And how do we be sure that what we do feed into our organizations and ultimately into decisions is not only efficient, but also accurate and ethical and credible along the way here. So to address this balance between automation and assurance, we have 4 outstanding experts here that are going to share their perspectives on some of these topics around how AI is really transforming insights generation as well as governance. So I will let you all each introduce yourselves. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi everyone, and glad we're still up. I'm Daria. I work as in-house market research specialist. I have also a socio-political research background. Thomas.
I'm Tom, working for Bristol Squibb, a pharma company, taking care of their commercial analytics, so everything from demand forecasting, market research, CI, BI, whatever they throw at you. Yeah.
Hi, my name is David. I work with CARIAD, a Volkswagen subsidiary. We're making the software for the whole Volkswagen group. And I'm with their market intelligence department for about 3.5 years now, which is a long time. And we mainly focus on competitive intelligence.
Hi, I'm Sandra, working for the market intelligence team, or leading the market intelligence team at Hapag Lloyd, a global container shipping line, transporting goods from A to B. And we are indeed focusing on competition and the market landscape. And the market intelligence team at Hapag Lloyd is part of the IT team. So our department is called Data, Insights, and AI. So we also have an AI team.
And for those I haven't met yet, I'm David Kalinowski with Proactive Worldwide. I've been the chair of the Cimicon side of the equation here, so welcome. My first question, Sandra, I'm going to send over to you. I'm going to start you off right away. I know what he wanted to start, and that was you. As someone who's leading data insights and AI at a global logistics powerhouse, how do you define data trustworthiness in an AI context? In other words, what checks or guardrails do you believe must exist for insights to be used to drive major business decisions?
Deep cross-checks and deep dives really into the data. I wouldn't trust any AI-generated content for really big strategic decisions. That's for me, AI is really super helpful, super beneficial for ideation, for brainstorming, for a starting point, but and also for summarizing facts or creating news articles, rephrasing stuff. But it's not the solely thing. So you really need the human intelligence still. And for me, it's about, if I want to have a research from various sources, grabbing the most important facts, AI is super, because I cannot read thousands of sources and reports. But solely rely on that? Not yet.
Let me open it up to the rest of you. Do you think that trust in AI is something that can be engineered, or does it simply rely more on human judgment and organizational culture?
Yeah, I mean, I would fully agree. At least, eventually the technology might become better and more advanced, but yeah, today still you have to verify everything. And I would say that AI makes us more productive and more efficient, but the quality of the results is not better than it was before, when we were more manually looking for data and for insights. I mean, we use a lot of large language models, different tools, of course, Copilot, which is integrated into our tools, but mainly for external sources. And you really need to understand the context, and you need to verify what comes up, and it makes you faster and more efficient. But the human double check and doing that with a lot of diligence is very important.
And before trusting something, the first 3, 4, 5 times, I really double check each and every figure. Once that's working fine, then I know this prompt works, this is giving the result I want, and then checking every now and then, but overall then it's really beneficial. But I wouldn't really depend on AI for critical purposes or decisions.
I like using parallels. So for me, AI is almost like imagine a very skilled chef who chops the onions 1,000 times faster than you. Why would you do that? Yeah. Now, is the meal and the ingredients always going to be perfect? Most likely not. So I think that's how I personally look at AI. The other piece is, I think insights is something that is not given, and I think very rarely found like that. Insights tend to be developed, at least in some of the industries I've worked. It's very delicate. So it's a little bit of an art and science together, based on data, based on different findings, but really put together mostly by human. Can I have AI deliver 5 similar insights, just rewrite what I have discovered? Probably I can. So I would say helping me with findings, preparing that meal, but obviously you need to taste it. Yeah? And if the meal doesn't, or if often when it looks too good, it's probably too good, yeah, once you taste it. I think the other piece was about organizational trust. I think a huge topic for many of us, and I would almost split it into 2, right? There's people who are actually in depth into the matter, who dive deep, who work with the language models, who curate the data, harmonize it, and then you have the final users, right? So I think for those who are actually very close to it, it comes relatively naturally. They validate, they test, they wouldn't take anything for granted. I think the danger is if there is a missing link which explains the AI. So I like to call it explainable AI, and it takes a lot of time. So let's say your sales force, your marketing teams do need to build a trust in it. Yeah? I probably wouldn't have them look at something which combines 45 data sources, which has not been properly curated by people who actually need to be in there, data engineers, data scientists, etc. So that's my take on AI. But I love it, I use it, I will.
Yeah, okay. I don't really want actually to follow like what was just said, because I was going to say I hate black boxes, for instance, even without AI, when I get, like, for instance, when I get some open source data, and I don't really understand, like, it's not so obvious for me. I want to understand methodology. I want to ask people who collected it, like, what is the source, what's possible biases. I mean, also with AI is another black box, right? You can use this black box for your purposes, like as you mentioned, to optimize your processes. And I guess in the era of AI, for instance, I started to be like primarily quantitative researcher, because now I don't need to code that much, because I can just use specific models who would code for me, like code in R, code in Python for me, and I will spend much less time on analyzing the data and much more time on like understanding how it fits my business, how I can help my business to understand my business. Right, and I remember one thing which I got from from Excel a period of time. Sometimes it was easier to do some stupid spreadsheet task like manually, copy paste everything, than like writing a formula. So I would. I want to add this kind of angle. Everyone is talking that AI automation helps us, but maybe with this verification, some processes are now actually longer and more complicated. I don't know. I decided to add a question from myself to the panel. How would you approach it? Like, do you feel it's actually automated task that actually makes you more effective, or now you spend more time on double checking the black box?
I think there's also two ways to approach it, maybe, because one, and there's companies that have gone either way. So some realize that rubbish in, rubbish out, and they're spending a lot of time on really curating their data, making sure it's perfectly harmonized, and they drive the trust. I think the downside of that is you don't get to the use cases that quickly. There are other parts, of the business which are looking at maybe starting a little bit wrong, but then really building products and real use cases, which may be having limited data sets, but they actually improve and improve over time. So I don't know what's better. Something in me tells me that I want everything perfect, and then I can apply that layer on top. On the flip side, if you need to drive decisions very quickly, if you need to write codes in seconds versus months and weeks, which used to be the case, then I would select the second case, right? But I think it's a little bit also what kind of business you're in.
No, thank you for that. And again, think out there in the audience of any questions you might want to ask the panel. We're going to try to save a little bit of time to come back and see if you want to pose any particular questions. Thomas, next question, I'm going to start with you here as well. So you're in the pharmaceutical sector, VMS, of course. A lot of times in the intelligence world, we talk about perspective rather than precision, right? But in pharma world, it's almost a non-negotiable when it comes to needing precision. So how do you manage the trade-off between automation efficiency, with the scientific rigor that you have to go through to ensure accuracy and insights? Have you seen any examples where automation had hidden biases?
100%. I mean, relatively simple one. Take regular qualitative research and the way that ML can deliver transcripts of those qualitative research pieces. So I could speak for English. It's probably hitting somewhere around 90%, which is not bad. But imagine there's a number or something really important and the transcript is wrong, right? So then you add the transcripts together, have AI really work on that. And that can be really dangerous. I mean, speaking for German, it's even much worse. So I've just recently had a case where, we're trying to develop a database of qual interviews, anonymized. So yes, we need to anonymize that, and we want to put it into a database. But German hit rate was probably close to 80%, and that's already pretty tricky. So we still had to end up with that human check in the end, and that's something that's prolonging the time. It's increasing the cost. My spent on qual market research is now probably 10–15% higher just because of that human element that I need to put on top of the machine. So it's tricky.
David, so actually I have a new question for you, unless you want to chime in on that one.
Sorry?
I have a new question for you, actually.
New question.
Yeah, so my question for you is,
maybe if David has a better tool than I use, then
more effective transcriber.
Exactly.
You operate in the automotive innovation space, right? And so the velocity of information which you deal with is enormous. How do you validate the sources that are feeding your AI system?
Well, we mostly use external sources. As I said before, we do a lot of competitive analyses. So we basically have two sources. One is the internet and news and discussions and rumors also, and then also internal information which we get from colleagues, and we put that together. For the second part, there is no AI. We do that manually because it's about talking to them and discussing with them. For the external sources, what was the exact question? Sorry.
Just in terms of how do you validate the reliability and the sources?
Yeah, I think I mentioned that earlier. AI, namely chatbots and large language models, Copilot, Perplexity, you name it, enables us to be much faster, to quicker understand a new topic or something what's happening, or also watch, for example, 1 or 2 hour long videos for us, which would take 1 or 2 hours for me, and AI helps me to process that data much quicker, let's say in 10 minutes. But you have to still check everything because, yeah, the AI sometimes gets it wrong or puts something into the wrong context and then gives out the wrong answer. So you have to go to the timestamp and then by yourself watch, for example, this part of the video to understand if the transcription is right and the interpretation of the AI. Still, I think overall it saves us at least 50% of the time when analyzing these kind of sources.
Daria, what are your thoughts on that? And how much transparency do you require from your solution providers that are providing AI outputs in terms of where they're sourcing?
I'm so conservative in this sense, actually. I should say, yeah. I was going to say, actually, when you analyze, for instance, qualitative data, you would get some, like, I mean, some models are better, some models are worse. There are some, some hallucinating aspect of output. And when I was analyzing like qualitative data, for instance, and I used some solution for that, like summarize a solution. Basically, it's like, like text frequency super pooper analyzer in a box of AI, right? And then I see some formulated insight by AI, and then, yeah, I want to look this up, but I would do the same if I'm working with like quantitative data, and it automatically, like, for instance, there's like some solutions that would give me some graphs, and I want to understand as a sample, I want to understand the data sources, I want to understand the biases the same way. And honestly, I guess sometimes I would skip this verification process if it matches my knowledge already, if it supports my knowledge, so I wouldn't like double verify it. But if it's a new data point, did I get it with AI or without AI? So I want to double check the sources. It's how, I don't know, it's how I approach daily life questions and my work questions, just because I'm a hater of black boxes. But at the same time, we wanna these solutions work for us, right? Like we utilized Excel or SPSS or R or whatnot, so we don't calculate everything on paper anymore. And I guess here it's importance of judgment and importance of experience, and also some kind of, you know, basic understanding of what you should expect, and the time what you kind of anticipating, you know, to get from your data based on your business understanding. So I guess the job didn't really change much, but yeah, you need to put these instruments in work.
For the audience, show of hands, how many of you are using some kind of an AI tool? Pretty much everybody. Right now, I'm going to ask you, how many of you actually fully trust the data that your AI is cranking out? Interesting. You got one. I got some land I want to talk to you about later. No. It's interesting, though, right? We're using these tools on a regular basis, yet still don't really trust them. Yet our leadership seems to be bought on that we have to incorporate something, whether it is to improve efficiencies in the data collection or faster analysis, or somewhere we must use AI tools, right? It's kind of getting ingrained in us. So Sandra, I'm just wondering from your standpoint, how do you strike that right balance between this drive and push for implementing or incorporating some type of AI technology with the human validation process?
Yeah, to be honest, it's always the question for what to use the AI. So if I just want to summarize a big PDF report, great. Give me the 20 most important facts. I only need 10 or 15. I can select what I think is most important out of these 20. Super efficiency gain. If I just want to know what were the most important news related to our industry in the past week, give me some 15 random news articles. Perfect. I could also go through 10 or 15 different online newspapers, but I can also AI let me suggest something. So that's really beneficial. For deeper use cases, it's you really have to validate and you have to check. We are currently doing a pilot within our company. We have our own chatbot within Hapag Lloyd in a safe environment, and we are feeding it with market intelligence reports and trying to ask market questions. Some are really work great on. Some, there's still a bit room for improvement, so it's still a process to go on, and especially the first early stages on testing, trialing, doing the first pilot with business users. That's really an incredible amount of time which you have to invest. I hope that once we are able to launch it, that it really, even if it's only 80% accurate, if it saves so much time, it's really beneficial. But it's also quite a lot on change management and user training on how to work with this kind of information and how to, what level of accuracy you can expect, and please still use your own brain. Perhaps ask the chatbot, are you sure? Sometimes then the second answer is a different one compared to the first one. And that I was also advised by our AI colleagues, ask the simple, stupid question, are you sure? If it's then the same answer, then it's most likely really correct. But you have to learn that.
Yeah, and maybe to add to that, I think how you can really increase the quality of the output is prompt engineering. You probably have heard that. So type the question in the right way. What we also do is ask the tool to limit their sources or to provide certain sources or just one website, or there are also tools where you can upload your own sources. Depends on what system you use and whether you use it for internal data or not, but there are ways to tweak it. And also different tools, you have to handle them differently, and prompt engineering also depends a little bit on whether you use Perplexity or Gemini or ChatGPT or...
But I think it's really quite a lot on expectation management and how to use an AI efficiently. Because when we run our pilot with some business users, the first question was, why doesn't it have access to our sales SharePoint? Why doesn't it have access to SAP? Why doesn't this have access to this and this and this and this? It's about market. It's not about our internal stuff. People want an AI to solve everything, and AI does not solve everything, and that's good. So we also have a job in some years to go.
There's the most important question here.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted that. Actually, in this conversation about like sources, I don't know, in other discussions about AI, nobody really mentioned it, but I have the strong association about like other not really verified popular source of information from like 10, 15 years ago. Wikipedia emerged, and it was like, it's editable, right? So it's editable random online source. And at some point, people started to, add links to Wikipedia, which was a random online source, editable easily. I can edit it. Everyone can edit it. And people were always saying, like, check the sources. Like, think it's a kind of source lab, right? Source of sources, source of links. And with AI solutions, it really depends on solution, like OpenAI, ChatGPT. Sometimes it's a little hard with sources, so it cannot really find a source. And I know that typically for random questions, sometimes it's Reddit, and it gets you a Reddit link, and you're just reading some, random conversation of people on this website. And I guess it's a point that it's useful for people who like now creating AI-based solution is that especially for researchers, it's so important to get this. We want our sources. Maybe we will never open them, but we want to have it somewhere. We want to have this, possibility to verify the outputs. But I guess so far, in my experience, I see that this language models, they work as I understand it, I'm not a data engineer, but they work that way that it's really hard for them to actually show the source, because they work not based on reasoning, they work more based on associations. So it's basically some kind of association thinking than systematic thinking, because there is also kind of, I'm not data expert, so I'm not telling the right words, but there is kind of other type of AIs that works on this kind of systemic thinking, and it's harder to scale them. So more scalable AIs, they work on associations, so you can perceive it as some kind of associating and a little bit hallucinating machine.
This question is for all of you, and we'll start right down the road here. I'm curious if you think, are we training our analysts and our organizations to think critically, or are we training them to clean up the work from the machines? What do you think is happening right now? Obviously, until these machine learning applications, it was always about critical thinking and analysts using their brain power. Do you think there's a danger or there's a trend moving at all where it's more about let the machine do the critical thinking, but you have to check it and make sure it's accurate? Or do you think we are still investing enough in developing critical thinking skills?
Yeah, I should say this conversation is ongoing, I guess, for a long time. For instance, there is an argument like pro-AI that probably, like, for instance, if we make a lot of decisions, a lot of similar decisions, we are biased, right? Because we have our experience, we understand the situation like it typically is, and we don't really want to, think outside the box. Like, there is an example of, biased, some biased marketing decision, let's say, yeah, and there is an argument that, yeah, you can probably use AI tool as kind of brainstorming tool that will help you actually to get outside from your bias. So it's basically like have another teammate, which is you pay a subscription for, which would have its own biases, and you will have your own biases, so you kind of can brainstorm on your own and, yeah, hopefully not go crazy.
But is that so much different compared to 10 years ago? If you would have bought a PDF report or a database on whatever, and there it stated, next year the industry will grow by 100%, would you have trusted it and sent it to the management as breaking news? You always had to somehow validate or use your brain. So it's just another source.
Definitely. Every kind of number I have in my deck, so I want to understand. Either I'm totally sure it's like, for instance, no statistical difference in comparison to previous quarter. Okay, I will not get into it. If I see some important metric change, never it doesn't matter how I got this number. I want to double check it because I will have this question, and obviously I want to check my methodology, check my weights, check my data sources, check my samples, and understand how it also matches the current needs of my stakeholder or of the leadership in the company, etc. So I wouldn't. Yeah. But at the same time, as we mentioned, because I don't want this panel to be a little bit AI skeptical, and that's all. We want to automate our processes. We want to have some help. It's like typical example, right? Excel or calculator or Word or whatnot. Yeah, we typically make this analogies. So I guess to some extent, maybe if it's kind of trusted AI solution, if we understand kind of a little how this black box could be working, so definitely it should be in use.
David?
Yeah, I would like to add maybe another angle. I mean, you asked about the education of the workforce and the analysts. I would say that our biggest challenge is to educate our board of directors and senior management. Because they think, okay, now with AI you can get information very quickly, and they even try it themselves, and think that also we can come up with questions to with answers to their questions within half an hour or so, and educating them that it's not that easy and that there's a lot of hallucination and wrong information which you have to double check and verify. Yeah, it's not so easy sometimes. So, yeah.
I agree. It made me think, what is the real profile, right? Or who's going to get up there in the business world? Is it really the policeman of the AI? Or is it going to be the critical thinker? My impression is that many senior leaders like shiny toys, and lots of the stuff that's been shown to them has been curated, so it never shows a mistake, error, etc. Yeah, I think that's where maybe some of this impression that AI can solve everything comes. So I think I don't know if we're at the peak of that hype or we're still going to go higher. But I personally think the optics at the very, very senior management level can be a little distorted, and maybe we need to reset expectations. Now, how will our roles look like in 10 years? I'd like to think that we probably need to open the black box a little bit, and from what used to be called a translator, so kind of jack of all trades, being able to shift between the business and the tech, I personally think the pendulum's swinging a little bit to the tech part. Whether we like it or not, that's just my gut feel, my belief. That's where the roles will move to. Yeah.
I have one more question for you before we turn it over to the audience, since we have about 7 or 8 minutes left in our time here. And that is, if you each had to pick one skill set that you think we need to have in our next generation of intelligence analysts, what's the key skill set, if you pick one, and what skill set do we have now that will become obsolete?
It's a hard question because I was thinking about, I guess, 3 words while you've been saying the question. And I would say, I don't know, skill set or skill? You're asking about set or skill? One skill or one? Yeah. Because I was going to say curiosity, right? Because it would cover everything, both getting into technical understanding the black box, and at the same time, critical thinking part of. So I guess natural curiosity is kind of overlooked by job poster skill set, which I love a lot, and which I guess it's very basic of my work as market researcher or data analyst. I'm curious about like consumer user, people's society behavior.
Anything totally obsolete?
I don't think there's anything obsolete, but I think the most important will still be business acumen and the way you can support it with the tech. Because again, maybe my observation a little bit is that I see people who are really successful in, again, more senior roles are the ones who can really speak the tech language and who can roll up the sleeves. I mean, one of our CIO, he's actually happy to sit with the team, open the code, and correct them. Yeah, and I think that's what makes him really successful. So he's a great business manager, but at the same time, he definitely knows how to elevate that with the tech. So I think if you add the two, you have a winning formula.
Well, I would say critical thinking. I'm very much with you on that, because AI is a tool, and it can be wrong. And don't take things for granted. So always double check and use it with a lot of diligence.
No, I would agree to.
Sorry,
I agree to all of that. I would add the adaptability. So because I think the environment, the work environment, the tech landscape, everything is evolving so fast, and you really have to adapt to new tools, new technologies, different people, different strategies, different whatsoever. So I think the being adaptable is also very important, goes within this curiosity as well.
I would add to that, you heard a couple of the speakers earlier talk about storytelling, right? Being able to tell the story, but be persuasive and learn your debate skills. Right? I think increasingly we have to, prove what we're trying to get leadership to believe, to act upon. So if you could get your skills of advocacy up, that would be something, in my opinion, that you need to continue to work on. So would like to feel a question or two from the audience. There's a mic right in the center there. Please step on up and ask whatever question you like for the panelists. And if you want to ask a particular person, that would be great as well.
I was wondering if any of you could give an example where the use of AI has really brought an insight that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Very concrete example.
Well, to my mind, instantly something comes up. We do a lot of research also about Chinese competitors, and that is, I mean, the whole Chinese internet with the services which they use is not accessible to me as a non-Chinese speaker or non-Mandarin speaker. And AI gave us a lot of, I mean, it, on the one hand side it translates, but it also interprets and puts into context. The problem is we can't double check that data. Yeah, because we don't speak the language, so we clearly label that and we try to double check it with colleagues and make sense of it, but that's where AI helped us a lot to get information we couldn't get before.
One other of you want to add to that in terms of something you wouldn't have done otherwise?
For us, it's really summarizing key information. So one example, we have a quarterly PDF report which we purchase, 120 to 150 pages. It has a 6-7 pages executive summary. We read this executive summary, collect the main points on bullet points on one slide and distributed it. Now we are making summaries of each and every chapter. People can read it, they don't need to read it, but it's easy to generate. We still try to limit this summaries because we also do not want to add too much noise and too much new reports because it's more and more information. But if we just summarize the key 5 points per chapter, we believe it's value.
We have time for one more question. Thank you for that question. One more.
Can I just answer this one?
Yeah, you want to answer? Please.
And I'll be honest, I'm very specific what I mean by insight. For me, that's an aha moment. I would almost call it out of sight, something non-obvious, something that gives me a competitive edge, something that I can action upon if it's within the company, something I can commercialize or create value. Have I seen an AI tool deliver that? No. The AI tool I've seen, they deliver findings, sometimes they're surprising. Again, automation summaries, right? I think that's given, but I have not seen a true insight that I could capitalize on. I still hope it'll happen, but not yet.
So I think we all agreed that we cannot trust or we do not trust what AI throws to us. At least probably one of us trusted AI. But we as CIMI professionals understand this probably much better than some of our stakeholders who see it as you alluded, that board members would just go ahead and believe in certain cases. But again, there is a vast set of stakeholders who would actually do that. And how do you deal with that kind of a challenge? Because what you do is you understand the problems with AI, but not everybody does. So they might just be, let's say, using AI and taking decisions, and they don't even come and consult you. How do you manage that?
Yeah, I can start answering because it's my favorite question on stakeholder management. And when you, work as in-house market insights professional, I guess it's just another, so your stakeholder has another source now, which is really persuasive, I guess. And same as I work with my stakeholders' intuition, and I really trust their intuition sometimes and value their intuition because they're like specialists in their business acumen. So it's a collaboration. So I collaborate with my stakeholders ideally, and I mean, when you work in a company for some time, you have some relationship with your stakeholder, and you already did talked with them about your samples, you already talked with them about, I don't know, like basic statistics 101 or something like that. Depends on their needs and depends on their questions. Sometimes they just value your expertise. Sometimes you need to go deeper and to they challenge my insights. I challenge their intuitions, and now I will be challenging their intuitions based on ChatGPT output, right? And it's another source. I mean, they can read something in newspaper or they can read something on LinkedIn, and it will be another source. But yes, I mean, it's not just another maybe LinkedIn post, but it's a whole quite persuasive source of information now. And I guess I need to build like better relationship with my stakeholders and exercise my skill to understand, like to make stuff I work with, make my data, make my insights more understandable, more digestible, and more relevant to my stakeholders.
I would agree. I don't think the very senior stakeholders should really care where the recommendation's coming from if they have 100% trust in you. And I think it's partially our responsibility to pitch it, strategically storytell in a way that they will make the right decision. Yeah? And whether that's AI-based or it's something you just wrote back of the envelope, I don't think they should care in an ideal world.
Well, as we draw to a close here, I think it's been fascinating to hear both the mix of optimism and realism that we're facing with this tool. And AI, I think we're learning, is not our savior or our saboteur. You know, it's a little bit of both, I think, out there. And in the end, I tend to find it being a mirror of the integrity and the creativity and the discipline of the human using it. You know, and I think that's going to be really important going forward here. So how about a round of applause for our panelists? Thank you all very much for
Thank you, David.
sharing your perspectives.
Yeah.
We're going to